Over the last couple of weeks, I've been back indoors training and racing. E-racing, virtual cycling, whatever you want to call it, is now probably as popular as it ever has been. I could have made this video years ago, quite frankly, but something triggered me to make this video now. Because have you noticed how the level of competition is probably as tough as it's ever been? There's obviously different reasons for this. I want to share one of my biggest takes with you today. But it's definitely been over the last couple of weeks when I've been racing against, well, people who I don't think I've ever raced against before. Some people I have, but the competition has just stepped up a level. And because I don't spend the summers riding indoors and virtual cycling, I feel like I maybe miss where those improvements are coming from. And when I jump back in again in the winter, I get blown away by the new level of competition. Now granted, I'm assuming not everybody watching this video likes to race and compete online because everyone takes it with a pinch of salt, blah, 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 blah. But for those of you that do, have you noticed a similar thing? Because I've heard from people across all categories and abilities that they feel like the competition has stepped up across the lot. Let me take you to the pain cave. I'll explain a little bit more. It's blowing an absolute gale, guys, and it is due to rain. Another storm is coming in today. It's like perfect timing, a brilliant case study for what we're doing right now in this video. Okay, so I'm down the pain cave. This is essentially now where I spend most of my time. And granted, I understand most people probably are making use of limited space they have in their own homes, which is something that I had to do when we lived in a 2-bed flat. I would set up my bike like this, and then whenever I wanted to ride indoors, I would just bring it down and I would have my setup there straight away. So I tried to streamline it as much as possible. Now, because thankfully I have a space where it's dedicated to what I want to do, I don't have to worry about that. Now I just jump on the bike and everything's set up, not just to stream, but to like get going with the least amount of friction. This is a terrible light, actually. I don't know if this is too dark now. I was getting annoyed by that light above me, putting a shadow over my face. This is a little bit better. So I guess one of the things I've noticed is that consistency above all else for people has massively improved. Frequency of sessions and consistency. Two of the things that in 15 years of cycling, I know that's a really long time, but I genuinely preach a lot about it. I mean, it sounds cliche and you hear about it everywhere, but consistency is the number one thing. But then frequency, if you can do more training sessions than you ever have done, then generally speaking, you will see improvements. Now, why have I come down here to explain this? Well, I do think, I'm a firm believer that when I started cycling in like 2008, 2010, the best you could do training indoors was to stare at a brick wall and have like all your intervals written down on a pen and paper. Now, there's the gamification and the actual like eye candy, shall we say, of riding indoors. And you can do much more of it. There's more variety and you can also do it for a lot longer. There's people who can do 4-hour rides exclusively indoors. So where am I going with this? Well, it's the consistency and frequency thing. I think back in the day, you had to be a real die-hard cyclist to be out there in all weathers, training in the rain, the cold, the wind, in like, frankly, like sort of dangerous conditions. Now, I've been there, I've done that, and I also now am here and I do this, and I do a bit of both. But I do look back on when I used to train outdoors exclusively, and I think to myself, like, just how much mental resilience that took. And this takes mental resilience too, but the actual ease of access is much easier. Like going outdoors and getting kitted up and stuff in the winter is hard. I coach people as well who actually live in countries where they can't ride outdoors in the winter. So for like 4 or 5 months, they can only ride indoors because it is snowy, it's icy, it's just downright dangerous. So long story short, I think one of the most significant changes in cycling for a lot of people now is that ability to stay consistent for those 4 months or however many months in the winter, when otherwise they would be inconsistent. They would maybe only ride on nice weather days or on the weekends, and that now is out the window. They can ride whenever they want, most of the time, almost every week. I don't know, can you hear the rain? But that barrier now to getting on a bike, like the friction, I feel like it's as low now as ever. And I think that's also why you've seen an uptick in the just number of people getting into cycling. Wow, it is raining real heavy now. Because not only is it easier to get into the sport, because you can now just exclusively ride indoors, and I would say it was a pretty low barrier to entry before when I started cycling, but also when you talk about competition, because that's where I was going at the start of this video. The competition now, for me at least, that I see on Zwift is a level up from what I've experienced in years prior. And I've been live streaming and racing now for maybe at least 5 years. Probably a little bit longer actually. Wow, that's a really long time when I think about it. And of course, this doesn't translate just to what I'm seeing indoors on virtual racing. Maybe you're watching this video and you do time trials, or you do hill climbs, or you do Gran Fondos, or you do, you know, I don't know, road races, whatever it may be, cyclocross, gravel racing. I'd say the level of competition has risen in all of those. So it's a really interesting topic of conversation, because obviously when I've been in the sport for as long as I have, there's lots of new people joining the sport all the time. And it'd be interesting to hear from people who have been in the sport like maybe 5 years, 10 years, maybe even longer, how you see it, how you see the level of competition. It doesn't just have to be online, it can be what you see in professional cycling on TV. Obviously the changes in training, nutrition, recovery, all these things, they have an impact. Of course they do. If you've also just joined the sport in the last couple of years, where do you see the biggest benefit has come? If you've been doing indoor cycling, you're exclusively doing indoor cycling, has it allowed you to be way more consistent? Has it allowed you to get the enjoyment out of your cycling, your training, that has allowed you to progress? I'd love to hear your thoughts down below in the comment section. So keep the conversation going. It's a really interesting one. Thanks for watching this video, folks, and if you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you in the next one.